so example 6, graph the ellipse 25x squared plus y squared minus 50x equals 0. So notice this one's a little bit less involved, right? Fewer terms. But again, our first step is always to do all this isolation thing, the separation and things. There's no plus or minus, just constant. This has an x, this has a y, this has an x. There's no other numbers other than that. So when I do my first step of grouping things, I'm going to group my x's, 25x squared minus 50x. And then I'm going to have plus y squared, and I'm going to have equals 0. You don't have to leave space for the y squared. If there's no linear term, so you can see that 50x, minus 50x is a linear term for x, right? So that means completing the square is going to be necessary. If there is no linear term, there's no y to the first power, you're not going to have to complete the square for that one. I'll show you how to handle that. It's real easy. All right, so everybody comfortable with that first step? Just again, rearrangement and separation. So everything x here, everything y there, everything number over there. The only number is 0, so 0 is the number. Okay, so just like the last problem, I don't want a number in front of x squared, so whatever that number is, I have to take it out. So 25 parentheses, I'm going to have x squared minus 2x, leave a gap. 25 divided by 25 is 1, 50 divided by 25 is 2, and then we have our gap here. For the object with no linear term, you can go ahead and make it y minus 0 squared. Y minus 0 is the same as y squared is the same as y minus 0 squared. So it has that square structure we're looking for, and that's how you handle it. So if there's no linear term, just immediately switch it. If there was if it said 4y squared, put the 4 outside here. All right?
How did I get the 2x again?
I divided 50 by 25.
Okay.
All right, so whatever number you put out here, divide this by that and divide this by that to get those numbers in there. All right? But again, if this happened to say 4y squared, the 4 would go outside the parentheses.
And your 2x's, what goes in between the 50 and the y plus 2?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like 25x squared minus 50x minus 2x plus, or what are you going to put in the blank up there?
Well, I got to fill in the blank on the next step.
Okay.
I haven't done that yet. That's the next step, right? You're trying to get ahead of us a little bit. So, again, all we're doing in this step is making sure this is x squared. So if this is x squared, you got to take the 25 to make that happen. And to pull 25 out as a division, so divide by 25, divide by 25. We have to complete the square on the next step. All right. So, if I complete the square, what's half of 2? And 1 squared is? 1. So I have to add 1 here to complete the square, but in reality I've added positive 1 times 25. So I've really added 25 to the left-hand side, so I have to add 25 to the right-hand side. Okay. So now I'm ready to factor, so 25 parentheses squared. Okay. My factoring form has a letter, which is the first letter, which is x, a sign, which is the second number, the second term sign, which is minus, and the number, which is the square root of the number, which is 1. So take the letter, take the sign, take the square root. 3 terms, 3 pieces. We have parentheses y minus 0 squared equals 0 plus 25 is 25. Again, that gets us to the point in standard form where we have our parentheses squared. Now we need it to equal 1. So my last step is divide by 25 to get 1. And again, I don't want anything in front of the squared object, so this right here can't be there. So 25 divided by 25 cancels, making 1. I do want to see a number, so even though over 1 isn't usually necessary, I want to see a number, so I'm going to put the over 1. Notice this has a 1 in front of it. There's nothing in front of this, right? So that's fine the way it is. So over 25. So my final standard form for this whole thing is going to be x minus 1 squared over 1 plus y minus 0 squared over 25 equals 1. 25 over 25 there made 1 as well. Which makes my center h is positive 1, k is 0. H is with x, change the sign, k is with y, change the sign. A squared is equal to 1, so A is equal to 1. Square root of 1 is 1. B squared is 25, so B is equal to 5. And C squared equals the big minus the small. 25 minus 1 is 24. So C is going to equal the square root of 24, which is almost 5. Square root of 24 is 4.90. And again, if I just interpret what's happening here, I'm going to plot my center. A is always left and right. B is always up and down. C always matches the direction of the bigger number. 5 is bigger than 1. 5 is up and down, so C is going to be up and down. C is always on the major axis. The major axis is the longer axis. So whichever one you're going, we're going up and down more, so that's the major axis. Makes C go up and down. So 1, 0 is my center. I'm going to go 1 right for a vertex, 1 left for a vertex, 5 up for a vertex, 5 down for a vertex, 4.90 up for focus, 4.90 down for focus. Connect the dots with a curve. Those thin ones are harder to draw. I like the fatter ones are easier to draw. Draw it as pretty as you can. You can see mine's not great. So make it look curvy, hit all 4 vertices, and you'll be in good shape.